November 23rd, 2020. And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. It's been a very busy news day. Some big breaking news stories took place today. So if you have been following my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, you know we've been covering these stories. We see out of the state of Michigan, out of Lansing, Michigan, state capital, we see that the Michigan Board of State Canvassers voted today 3-0 to certify the election results from the November 3rd, 2020 election. There was one Republican member who abstained from voting, so instead of 4-0. We're going to talk about this. This made national news today. And then shortly after that took place, and that news story broke, we see that the General Services Administration, the U.S. agency that has to sign off on the authorization for the transition from the Trump administration to the Biden administration to actually take place, we see the U.S. agency ascertains Joe Biden as the winner, which is what basically pretty much everybody who can count and who's coherent already knew. And this lets the transition begin. Associated Press reported on this, NBC News as well. We posted articles there. They got a huge response. And this frees up over $6 million goes to the Biden transition team to help finance the transition. Okay, so we're going to talk about those two stories, give you an update on what's going on with coronavirus. We see that this past weekend, more than 3 million new cases were reported. But well, we see more than 3 million people traveled this past weekend all over the country against the warning from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, warning people not to travel for Thanksgiving. And we saw that this past Friday, you had at least 195,000 new cases of coronavirus also this past Friday. So this continues to spread. We're over 12 million cases of coronavirus. Going to give you an update on what's going on there also. Okay. And then I saw a story this morning from NBC News that Donald Trump was refusing to sign off on a defense bill because within the defense bill is a stipulation to change the names of Confederate bases. Change the names of military bases that are named after so-called Confederate heroes or traitors to the Union. So he is refusing to sign off on this, okay? Sign off on this bill. Now we know Joe Biden will sign off on the bill. But this goes back to a video that I posted a couple of days ago on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. And this video deals with the, it's a clip from the Golden Girls from 1988, okay? Golden Girls 1988. And this clip deals with the controversy over the Confederate Battle Flag and how some Southerners see the Confederate Battle Flag, or what people mistakenly think is the Confederate flag. They see it as Southern heritage, Southern pride, but it's really a symbol of traitors to the Union who committed treason based upon Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, took up arms against the Union to maintain slavery, which was essential to their way of life, essential to maintaining their wealth, as is stated in many of their statements of secession, like the statements of secession from Texas. In this episode is a very young Don Cheadle. who's a friend of Blanche Devereaux. We know Blanche Devereaux was a Southern belle. She's from the South. And you have this conflict here, and Blanche talks about how the Confederate battle flag ties her to her family members. And if she denounces the flag, then what does that say about her family members? Okay? And so then this brings into conversation, well, how did this history become rewritten? How did this history become rewritten? We have what's known as the lost cause. The lost cause. And this is a rewriting of this Civil War history and to make it over states' rights. And the South was standing up for their rights, and they were standing up to the federal government. The federal government was imposing upon the will of the a video that we did a few weeks ago from the daughter and to read the Civil War as not about reframe the Confederacy, I should say, reframe the Confederacy, and to reshape it as not the South fighting to maintain slavery, which was essential to their way of life, but this whole lost cause this whole lost cause ideology, and the South was standing up for their rights, etc. Okay, talk about that, because the whole, I mean, in 2020, for us to still be debating over whether Confederate monuments should still exist, and Confederate monuments are monuments that were erected to traitors to the Union. Okay, if those had all been African Americans who had done that and took up arms against the Union, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It'd be an open and shut case. All right, so we're going to talk about that in a second. All right, and we'll give you an update on what's going on with coronavirus as well. Okay, so and I want to remind people that we're here 6 days a week. We're here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight, the African History Network Show. Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight, the African History Network Show. And then Sundays, we're still on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. So we had a great show Sunday night. We broadcast on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. So you can go back and watch the shows there. And these shows are also in audio podcast format as well on our podcast platforms. Okay, they're in audio podcast format also. All right, so we'll talk about those topics tonight or today. Now, on the African History Network Show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct your own behavior, what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network Show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word KEMET, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word KEMET, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can sign up for the email newsletter there as well. You can donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me the AHN show, paypal.me / the AHN show. It definitely helps us because we're here 6 days a week now instead of 1 day a week, so that helps stay on the air, keep doing the research, pay the bills, etc. $ the AHN show through Cash App, and then also through PayPal, paypal.me / the AHN show. All right. Calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. And then we'll go to the phone lines here in a minute. Okay, so let's jump into this first story here. Michigan Board of Canvassers did the obvious and certified the votes, okay? And, you know, this was a national story. Usually, certifying a state election is not a national story. This became a national story. We know that Donald Trump, this past Friday, November 20th, Trump had the two Michigan state legislature leaders at the White House, as well as some other ones. He had Michigan State. He had the Michigan State Majority Leader, and he also had the Michigan House of Representatives leader also. Okay, at the White House, and it appeared that he was trying to get them to overturn the will of the people and to try to put in another set of electors. Okay, we talked about this last week. We talked about this on a Sunday show, and we also talked about it Friday as well. Okay, so that didn't work, and it's not within the Michigan State Constitution, within Michigan State law. It doesn't allow for that to happen. All right. You had House Speaker Lee Chatfield, Republican, and you had Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey, Republican. They visited Donald Trump at the White House. Now, according to WXYZ Channel 7, they were summoned to the White House. And then, so if we look at the article from Detroit News, Michigan Republicans arriving at White House as Biden advisor issues warning. Then we look at NBC News. After meeting with Trump, Michigan lawmakers say they see nothing to overturn Biden's win. After meeting with Trump, Michigan lawmakers say they see nothing to overturn Biden's win. Okay, imagine that. So that wasn't going to happen. Donald Trump is trying to pull out all the stops. We also saw that the NAACP filed a lawsuit on behalf of African Americans here in Detroit. There were 3 African Americans here in Detroit. The NAACP filed a lawsuit. WXYZ Channel 7 here in Detroit reported on that, and then also HuffingtonPost.com reported on that as well. So we talked about that on our Sunday night show about the lawsuit that the NAACP Legal Defense Fund filed. Okay, and let me try to find that article, see where that went. But WXYZ Channel 7, group of black voters in Detroit suing President Trump, citing voting rights abuses and disenfranchisement. Okay, so all this was taking place, and this was all blowing up in Donald Trump's face. All right, and I'm going to try to see if I can find that article here from Huffington Post. All right, we'll find that during the break. Is somewhere here in this stack of articles. But so all this is blowing up one after another. We see that Saturday the Pennsylvania lawsuit on behalf of the Trump campaign was thrown out also. We see that was thrown out as well. Okay, so it's not going well for Donald Trump. NAACP Legal Defense Fund lawsuit, Trump violated Voting Rights Act. Okay, NAACP Legal Defense Fund lawsuit, Trump violated Voting Rights Act. So all this is not going well for Trump. All right. And then he tweeted today after Emily Murphy, the General Service Administrator, after she released her statement and releasing, declaring basically ascertaining that Joe Biden is going to be the next president. Then Donald Trump releases a tweet, a couple of tweets, that, you know, basically saying he gave her permission to go ahead to do that. It's well within her authority to do that. So these are things unfolding today. All right. On top of coronavirus surging and 3 million people warning. So what's going to happen is after Thanksgiving, we're going to see a huge surge in coronavirus cases. Okay, after Thanksgiving, we're going to see a huge surge in coronavirus cases, and you know, this is what I've been warning people about. All right, now you have some people who already had coronavirus and they have the antibodies, so it may be safe for them to travel, but you also have to be careful of the flu, because the flu is also have to be careful of catching the flu as well. All right, look, hey, we're coming up here on the break. You listen to the African History Network Show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El-Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid El-Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com.
Melanize Media is an independently Black-owned and operated film company. We specialize in producing culturally enriching Black films and videos at melanizemedia.com. Join us every Sunday for Melanize Nights, where we screen a socially conscious documentary film or Black historic presentation. That's every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Visit melanizemedia.com to learn more and to register. That's MELANEYES media.com. Peace.
Revitalizing, restorative, indulgent, essential. Crea's Love Butter Raw Shea Butter Collection. How do we know if our skin products are truly delivering all of the health benefits they should? Crea's Love Butter is a thoughtful combination of hand-selected ingredients designed to enhance the level of your skin's health. Crea's Love Butter is an ideal gift for health-conscious loved ones and is a pleasure to both give and receive. They've harnessed the restorative powers of raw shea butter and infused it with their love and passion for revitalizing skin that you will undoubtedly feel from the first use. Visit their website today, creaslovebutter.com. CREAS, creaslovebutter.com. Put your skin in the game. Welcome back to the African History Network Show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. Welcome back to the African History Network Show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation of Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, November 23rd, 2020, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well today. So right before the break, we were giving you an update on what's going on, and we were talking about the Michigan State Board of Canvassers certified the votes today for the election that took place November 3rd, and there are 4 members on the Michigan State Board of Canvassers. Okay, you have 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. You have one of the Republicans who abstained from voting. Okay. And so it was 3-0. All right. So the Michigan Board of State Canvassers voted to certify the election results for the entire state, solidifying Joe Biden's win and giving him the state's 16 electoral college votes, Now, Norman Schinkel, okay, and those here in the state of Michigan have probably heard that name. If you didn't already know about him, you've heard that name in the past few days, okay? Norman Schinkel abstained from the vote while 3 other canvassers voted to certify, okay? So, and he telegraphed beforehand that he was going to abstain from vote. He's a Republican. He's a Trump supporter. So the board also agreed that the state needs to change its election system and voted to work with the state legislature. Now, Norman Schinkel said, quote, "Michigan has a problem conducting elections. For that, I apologize to the citizens of this nation." So a lot came. We've been talking about this for the past few days, and had about 357 votes that these are basically clerical errors. This is not widespread voter fraud. Okay. White had a high of these clerical errors. You had white cities. Is there? You trying to tell me something, Shakita? You had white cities where you had a higher percentage of these errors, and they weren't accused of voter fraud. But the city of Detroit overwhelmingly went for Joe Biden. And also in the city of Detroit, we voted for Senator Gary Peters and not John James either. Okay. James was calling for an audit and all this. It's not going to help you, man. You need to go somewhere and sit down somewhere. It ain't going to help you. But Governor Gretchen Whitmer commended the 3 board members who voted yes. She said, "I commend the 3 members of the State Board of Canvassers who voted to follow the law and certify the 2020 election results today. The people of Michigan have spoken. President-elect Joe Biden won the state of Michigan by more than 154,000 votes. So those little 357 votes or 400 votes out of Detroit, even if they all went for Trump, whoop-de-doo. He would still lose. And the margin that Joe Biden won in Michigan is more than 10 times greater than the margin that Michigan by in 2016. Donald Trump won Michigan in 26,704 votes, 10,704 votes. Joe Biden won Michigan by at least 100, really about 155,000 votes. So these are, you just have a lot of people here who are just upset that Donald Trump is losing, has lost. Okay, that's what this really boils down to. Okay, so for people that are around the country that are not sure what this is all about, okay, and this is about racism also. This is about, and also trying to invalidate the votes of African Americans. They ain't just do it here in Detroit. They tried to do it in Atlanta, tried to do it in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, these cities that have a high population. They call for the recounts there, accuse the people of cheating and things like this. Okay. So, I just find it very interesting that you say and they cheated. Win in Kentucky. They let Cindy Hyde Smith win the senatorial race. They let Senator David stay in office in Georgia. They let Senator Kelly Loeffler stay in office in Georgia. They ain't rigged those elections. Okay. You didn't claim that the election in North Carolina was rigged, but Trump won that one. You didn't claim the elections in Alaska. Trump won that one. So I want to go to this clip here from WXYZ Channel 7 in Detroit. They've been doing some good reporting. Michigan Board of State Canvassers votes to certify election results. Michigan Board of State Canvassers votes to certify elections. This clip.
Here in Michigan is finally over.
The Michigan State Board of Canvassers made the decision late this afternoon, formally granting President-elect Joe Biden the state's 16 electoral votes. Kevin Action News reporter Brian Abel takes a look at how this certification impacts President Trump's pathway to try to overturn the election results.
There have been more 8 voting in the history of these kinds of meetings. In the end, 3 yes votes, 2 Democrats and a Republican, and 1 Republican abstaining in what may be a fatal blow to President Trump's election objections. The drama in what's usually a meeting, whether the Board of Canvassers for the state of Michigan have a legal avenue to delay or even vote no on certifying the state's election results.
So am I correct in saying, we're not a court here. We don't have judicial power. We don't have the authority to conduct a trial here on whether or not election fraud occurred.
No. Hey, we're at the pinnacle of Michigan's democracy. You're the end game.
In public comments, stakeholders and the public weighing in too.
The board must certify the results today.
Over 5.5 million Michiganders who cast their votes earlier this month. I'm here to tell you in no uncertain terms that you must certify the results of the November general election. I implore the Board of Canvassers to provide meaningful review of Wayne County.
Your job is to ascertain and determine the results of an election. There is nothing that restricts your ability to do that.
Ben Hale, the Michigan Communications Director for Biden's campaign, just released this statement on the state's board's recognition of the plain facts. President-elect Joe Biden resoundingly won the state of Michigan by more than 150,000 votes, 14 times the margin of Donald Trump in 2016. We thank the state of Michigan for its support and look forward to receiving its 16 electoral votes. And in just the past few minutes, the president's campaign releasing a statement of their own saying certification state of history as we fight to count all the legal votes. We are keeping an eye on the president's Twitter account. He has not tweeted in 18 hours. Dave?
All right, Brian.
So we know that Trump tweeted after that. Now, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, who you've seen on NBC when we shared the clip from our Sunday show, NBC. Democracy has prevailed. Vote the results accurately reflect the will of the voters. A record-breaking 5.5 million Michigan citizens, Michigan citizens cast ballots in this election, more than ever before in our state's history. Their will and risk limiting audit, a statewide risk limiting audit to affirm the integrity of the process and identify opportunities for improvement. And we will continue working with lawmakers at the state and federal level to strengthen our elections even further in the months ahead. Our democracy, like the election officials who administer it, is resilient. Today, it and they survived an unprecedented attack on its integrity. So the unprecedented attack on its integrity came from someone who has no integrity. That's Donald Trump, who really should be calling the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone moving company to make an appointment for January 20th, 2021, so they can help him pack his stuff and move out of the White House. Today, it and they survive integrity. There will no doubt be more similar attacks in the future based in falsehood and information. Then, as now, we will be ready to respond, as always, with facts, data, truth. And that's something that people who lie can't handle. Facts, data, and the truth. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to who we have here, line one. Let's go to Thomas. Thomas, line one. Welcome to the African History Network Show. Tell us where you're calling from, and thanks for holding.
Okay, man. I hope you're having a good night. But this was a stressful day. Very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let me say this about the canvas.
Mm-hmm.
The Wayne County, this Wayne County canvasser, the Republican lady, evidently knew the procedure.
Oh, talking about Monica Palmer.
She couldn't know that you can't have an audit till after you certify.
Mm-hmm.
And if she don't know the procedure, she shouldn't even be a canvasser.
So I watched some of the hearing today, and I watched on Zone YZ on their Facebook. We shared it on our Facebook pages. So I watched some of it, and she actually spoke today. Okay, and she said that
I watched her and I heard her, and this was the
well. Hold on just a second. We got to listen to the audience. Hold on, Thomas. We got to listen to the audience. I'm trying to explain to listen to the audience what happened. Okay, so what she explained, Monica Palmer. What she explained was that during the hearing, she would said if she Jonathan Kinlock, who's a Democrat on the board, and he did surrounding this, she said that he told her that they would do a audit. There would be an audit of the votes or what have you. And she said if she had been in her right mind, or if she had her wits about her, she would have realized that the not have taken place until after the votes were certified. Okay, so people can go and watch that. But just so people understand, I'm gonna let you finish, Thomas. Just so people understand, there were about 250,000 votes that came out of Detroit. The number of votes that there are discrepancies with are basically 357. Some reports are 400. So as the clip from the excerpt of the press conference last Tuesday that Reverend Wendell Anthony, president of the NAACP chapter, and Mayor Mike Duggan did. Mayor Mike Duggan and Detroit Free Press has an article on this. 99.9% of the votes in Detroit were fine. Okay, go ahead, Thomas.
Okay, now this is the other day. She said that she was threatened. She a Republican. That's what Republicans do. They threaten each other. They threaten everybody. The threat was because what she was insinuating that maybe the threats was coming from the city of Detroit. Who's to say where the threats came from? They could have came from the militia. They threatened the governor. They threatened to kill her. Mm-hmm. So who's the other? And then this is the other thing. Just listen to this. Now we just had all them votes, right? One big body of black people we voted.
Right. Are you on a speakerphone, Thomas?
So, yes, I am.
Okay, you sound better now. Yeah, take it off the speakerphone. You sound better. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Now, we had all this big body of votes, more turnout in 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
What it come down to, got the canvassers, they got the certified votes, right? They don't agree. If they don't agree with all the votes that came from the city of Detroit,
right,
it might not be no good. They might not be recognized. Then we got to go through another process. You got the state canvasser. We got over 250,000 votes. These black people vote,
mm-hmm.
right? They still overseeing our vote. If the state canvassers don't certify the votes, they could take the votes away. It's just too many votes, right? So what it came down to in the state of Michigan, we had 8 people that was determining whether our votes were good or not.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was good or not.
Right.
Now listen, the one guy, he said he wanted to excuse himself, right? How did he put it? What was that word he used?
What word? Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
The one guy that didn't vote for the state.
Oh, Norm Schenkel? I'm not sure. What? Go ahead, because I got to get to these other callers, man. This is only a 1 hour show. Go ahead and make your point.
Okay. And he excused himself, right?
He abstained. He abstained. He didn't vote. Yeah, he abstained.
Yeah, he abstained.
Right.
What's the difference in abstaining and accusing yourself?
Recusing. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Yeah, he did not vote at all. Right. Okay, Thomas.
That's what the basic came down to.
Right.
Because he wanted to make sure he wasn't connected and nothing that Trump was trying to get.
Right. Okay. All right, Thomas, I gotta get these other calls, man. We're almost out of time. Okay, let's go to Charles, line 2. Thanks for calling, Thomas. Keep listening. Let's go to Charles, line 2. Charles, welcome to the African History Network Show. Tell us where you're calling from, Charles.
Calling from Detroit, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Charles?
Yeah, pretty good. Love your show, man.
Thank you.
On the mark.
Thank you.
On the mark, man, when it comes to giving information. Wow.
Thank you.
Worldwide.
Thank you.
Proud of you, Brother Mike Imhotep. Proud of you, man. You giving the information.
Yep.
Hey, I got a quick question. With all that's going down, in the political world, Donald Trump, Joe Biden in particular, it's like a world champion boxing match.
Right.
Going for the title, so to speak, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you're going to have people, that's leaning on the one side, and you got people leaning on the other side, best man win. No hard feelings, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But ain't no sense in slandering the other side, with personal feelings, you know what I'm saying? I mean, best man win. And just hope for the best, with the pandemic and everything going on. There's certain signs in that, we inhale and we exhale and we hope for the best for all people, So we pray for each other, to come out of whatever status or state we're in, because we all, have issues, and just hope for the best.
Right. Okay. All right, Charles. I gotta get these other calls.
Appreciate you, man.
Keep listening. Call back tomorrow night. Let's go to Theo. Quickly, line 3.
All right.
Theo Broughton, welcome back to the African History Network Show. You're from Detroit, Hood Research. Everybody knows that. Go ahead, make your points, Theo.
That's right. And follow Hood Research on Twitter. Listen, I'm calling because it seems to me that with knowing that we're in a pandemic, and of course that requires attention. But all of this hoopla about certifying the vote, and Donald Trump going to court every other minute. He's had 4 lawsuits in Detroit. He's lost all 4 of them. In the meantime,
in Detroit,
it's being reported that he is, it's being reported that Donald Trump is having some of our most expensive aircraft destroyed.
Right. MSNBC reported that. Yep.
It seems that was the reason, in addition to hating black folks, why he has this distraction going on. I'm sure someone told him all the time that these votes had to be certified, and there was no way for him to stop them.
Right.
And then Emily, what's her name?
Emily Murphy.
Yeah. All the stalling that she was doing. She did not need Donald Trump's approval to carry on a process that happens every time we get an election and another president.
Right.
So this thing about the aircraft, very sensitive aircraft being destroyed, we're talking they have to replace with billions of dollars. It's going to take time for that to be done.
Yeah. So that'd be the next administration. That'd be the next administration.
Has Russia told Donald Trump to do these kinds of things to redeem himself?
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. Okay. Okay, Theo, I gotta run. Okay. Call back tomorrow night. I gotta run, Theo. Okay. So MSNBC reported on that this evening. Also, it's a fleet of planes that Trump has ordered destroyed. Check that out. Go to NBCnews.com or MSNBC.com. Very quickly here. A couple articles that I posted. Trump's legal team cried vote fraud, but courts found none. Trump's legal team cried vote fraud, but courts found none. BlackAmericaWeb.com. They picked this up from the Associated Press. This article written by Mary Claire Dale. This was posted November 2020 as they frantically searched for ways to salvage President Donald Trump's failed re-election bid. His campaign pursued a dizzying game of legal hopscotch across 6 states that centered on the biggest prize of all, Pennsylvania. The strategy may have played well in front of television cameras and on talk radio to Trump supporters, but it has proved a disaster in court, where judges uniformly rejected their claims of vote fraud and found the campaign's legal work amateurish. The reason why is because they ain't presenting the evidence, because there is no evidence. They're lying. This is what this boiled down to. They're lying. Okay. Read this full article from BlackAmericaWeb.com, picked up by the Associated Press, that goes through and breaks this down. Then there was one other one here. One from NBC News. Which one was that one? Not that one here. Let me see. Hold on. Trump's election fight includes over 30 lawsuits. Going well. Trump's election fight includes over 30 lawsuits. It's not going well. This is from NBCnews.com, November 23rd, 2020. We'll post this link. Also read that article as well. All right, very quickly here. So as the news broke today, NBC News, Associated Press, U.S. agency ascertains Biden as winner. Let's transition begin. The General Services Administration ascertained Monday that President-elect Joe Biden is the apparent winner of the November 3rd election, clearing the way for the start of the transition from Donald Trump's administration and allowing Joe Biden to coordinate the federal agencies on plans for taking over on January 20th, 2020. Shakita, I'm going to go to that clip from the Golden Girls. Trump, who had refused to concede the election, said in a tweet that he is directing his team to cooperate on the transition, but is vowing to keep up the fight. What fight? You just keep up lying? Filing these frivolous lawsuits? Administrator Emily Murphy made the determination after Trump efforts to subvert the vote failed across battleground states, citing, quote, recent developments involving legal challenges and certifications of election results, end quote. Michigan certified Biden's victory Monday, and a federal judge in Pennsylvania tossed out a Trump campaign lawsuit on Saturday seeking to prevent certification in that state. So we reported on all this. We'll post this article, read that full article from the Associated Press. I want to get to this next story here. So we talked about coronavirus briefly. We see 12.3 million cases of coronavirus. Number of cases and deaths continue to soar. The vaccine news comes as the number of COVID-19 cases in the United States since the pandemic began reached 12.3 million. We see Friday is about 195,000 new cases. We almost have 258,000 deaths. More than 83,000 Americans are hospitalized. Okay. And we see AstraZeneca today became the third pharmaceutical company to announce positive results for a potential COVID-19 vaccine. The company said its vaccine developed with Oxford University was up to 90% effective. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. So at the beginning of the show, I talked about how I saw an article this morning from NBC News that Donald Trump is threatening not to sign off on the new defense bill because there's a clause in there that calls for the renaming of Confederate bases, military bases named after Confederate heroes or traitors to the Union. There was a episode of The Golden Girls from 1988 where this whole debate over this Confederate battle flag took place. Okay. Now, what we call the Confederate flag is not the Confederate flag. It's actually the Confederate battle flag of Northern Virginia under General Robert E. Lee's army. In this clip, you have a very young Don Cheadle, and he's confronting Blanche Devereaux, the Southern Belle, about this Confederate battle flag that belonged to one of her relatives, Big Daddy, I think it was. Let's go to this clip.
You're not hanging that flag in here.
Well, of course I am.
Blanche, do you know what this flag represents?
This flag belonged to Big Granddaddy Hollingsworth. He used to bring it to all our fine old Southern family picnics where all the cousins would gather. Everybody was courteous and mannerly, and gentlemen would ask ladies for the favor of a dance. And Cousin Rex would be home on vacation from Colonel Bob's School for Bad Boys.
Wait a minute, now I get it. This is just good old-fashioned fun.
Yes.
Okay, well, say, how about on Tuesday nights we hang the Nazi flag, hire an oompa band, and dress you up like Eva Braun?
This is not the same as the Nazi flag.
Yeah, well, it is to me, Blanche. But when you look at this flag, you see some Southern fairy tale with a guy who looks like Burl Ives dressed in a white suit, tipping his hat to you, saying, "Evening, Miss Blanche."
Evening. Sorry, Roland, you were making a point.
That's not funny, Blanche.
Well, that's ancient history, and you know it. Things aren't like that anymore.
You did the right thing, Rose.
I did? I did the right thing. I did?
Yeah. Sometimes what you believe is more important than business. Although what some people believe is unbelievable.
Now, Roland, I am not some kind of bigot because I love this flag and I resent that implication. You just stop that right now.
Oh, yes, ma'am, Miss Devereaux. Roland don't want to cause you no trouble at all.
You hold on to that one. He's a good one. What did you say?
He's a good one.
Roland, wait. Hey, Roland, I don't feel like that woman in there. I don't feel that way at all.
But can't you see, Blanche, that flag ties what you believe and what she believes together. Look, I'm telling you, the legacy of that flag is alive every time I walk down the street with a group of my friends and I see a white person cross over to the other side because they're afraid. Or look, when I'm in the elevator with somebody like you and you're all huddled over in the corner wondering what I'm going to do, sometimes I just want to go, back there! Oh. Attention. So please don't tell me about that flag. I've battled that flag all my life.
Look, Roland, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything you have been through. But what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to think about all my family, all my friends? All right. When I was in school, maybe I was a little less sensitive than I could have been. See, I was just doing what all my friends were doing. They were my friends. And we were just acting like everybody we knew acted.
Oh, when I had my first, well, the hospital was packed, and I had to share a room with a young black woman. George made a big stink about the accommodation. She had to have heard him. I know her baby was this cute as mine. Cuter, in fact. Rebecca was an ugly baby. Turned out fine. Ugly baby. You can get an idea of how she looked if you catch Sophia some morning with her teeth out. The point is, what am I supposed to do and think about my family now? What am I supposed to think about all those people I love? What am I supposed to think about me? Everything I grew up believing in, all my wonderful memories, they're all tarnished now by, oh God, by the truth. I owe you an apology.
No.
Will you stay?
Lance, you really have to start listening to me when I tell you something is bothering me. And I'll try to understand why some of these things mean so much to you. Look, the whole world is messed up right now, and I would like to see that get better. But in order for that to happen, white people are going to have to start making positive assumptions when they see people of color. And people of color could make positive assumptions when they see white people.
Okay, so that clip was from the Golden Girls. That was from 1988. Okay, once again, that clip was from the Golden Girls. That was from 1988, and that sounds like there's something from today, especially with this fool in office, right? And so now Trump is refusing to sign off on a on the defense bill because there's a clause in it, in former Defense Secretary Esper, who he removed, wanted to rename military bases that are named after Confederate heroes, generals who were actually traitors to the Union. They're traitors. This is what they are, based upon Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution. So how much time we have left in the show, Shakita? How much time we have left in the show? Okay, we should have stopped buffering on Facebook and YouTube. You can just come on the air, let me know. You have 2 minutes. 2 minutes, okay. So we're going to continue this discussion on our social media platforms, The African History Network on Facebook. We're still broadcasting there. And my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. We're going to deal with briefly, how did this whole history of this lost cause, because this is where this history gets rewritten, where people associate the Confederate Battle Flag and Confederate monuments and things like this, General Robert E. Lee, PGT Beauregard, Stonewall Jackson. They associate this with stories their grandfathers told them, or great grandfathers told them, and told them about the rebels, and they were fighting to maintain, the Southern way of life. And the Confederate Battle Flag gets associated with NASCAR and Southern heritage, as opposed to white supremacy and fighting to maintain slavery and committing treason. How did all this get turned around? Okay, we're going to talk about that briefly here. If you like this, breaking news story. The first African-American mayor of New York City, David Dinkins, has passed away at age 93. New York Daily Post is reporting David Dinkins, who was elected New York City's first black mayor in 1989 and famously referred to the nation's largest metropolis as a gorgeous mosaic, passed away Monday night, November 23rd, 2020, at his home, sources told the New York Post. David Dinkins was elected New York City's first black mayor in 1989. The former mayor passed away at his Upper East Side home at around 9:30 p.m. He was 93 years old. Dinkins, who defeated three-term incumbent Ed Koch in the 1989 Democratic primary, beat Republican Rudy Giuliani, whose loss what little mind he's had left that year as well to become the city's 106th mayor. He would serve one term until 1993 when he narrowly lost his re-election bid in a rematch against his GOP foe. Just a second here. Okay, his turbulent time in office was marked by rampant crime and racial unrest, according to this New York Post. They're right-wing leaning anyway, but this is the first notification I got of this. When he but despite the turmoil, he led the city with a grace and dignity that was respected and even by his political foes, and left him an admired figure when his tenure was long overdue. So we'll talk about this some more on tomorrow night's show. All right, if you'd like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, and visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can donate there. My DVD lectures are there also. We have the bundle pack, The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus, The Africans Who Were Here Before Columbus. 8 DVD bundle pack includes some of my lectures as well. And a double lecture I did with Dr. David Imhotep, who wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence, and a double lecture I did with Professor Kabahaya Watha also. All right, we're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. As well. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Right now, it's corrects wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Stay tuned for Greg Davis and follow us on our social media platforms. We'll continue the discussion. Talk to you later. Peace. Sage and Elm Apothecary creates unique products, especially with you in mind. They use simple ingredients such as whole fruits, herbs, and vegetables. Each product crafted offers a unique plant-based experience. Their holistic approach to self-care formulate their product inventory. They're proud to serve our community of plant-based product supporters and offerings for the entire family. Sage and Elm Apothecary designs over 60 different beautifully handcrafted soaps, natural toothpaste, hydrating oils, deodorants, face masks, shampoos, conditioners, and so much more. Visit their website at sageandelmapothecary.com. That's sageandelmapothecary.com, APOTHECARY, and find out about their upcoming events throughout the year. Allow Sage and Elm Apothecary to provide for all of your plant-based needs. Use promo code AHNWinter20, AHNWinter20 for a special discount. Are you ready for a new black economy? Well, Hapi, The Role of Economics in the Development of Civilization, is a brand new documentary that will set you on a new path of knowledge and enlightenment. The Hapi film gives viewers a snapshot of our economic history from the dawn of civilization right up until today. The underlying theme of the film is the interrelationship between the three essential components of economics, politics, and culture. Hapi brings together the brightest and most prolific minds in the fields of psychology, history, business, and politics, such as Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Professor James Small, Dr. Julian Malveaux, Dr. Zahi Hawass, and Jabari Osazi, and more. Together, they deliver a message of cooperative economics, financial independence, and a pride that we can all be inspired by. The film is on sale now. It's streaming on all digital formats, or for DVD, please visit Hapi, H-A-P-I, hapifilm.com. Use offer code HAPI, AHN for a 10% discount. The books Ivy and Catalina Visit Sellville and Brooklyn Softball Adventures are from authors Sidney Carujo, Brooklyn Carujo, and Shanine Dials Carujo. In Ivy and Catalina Visit Sellville, readers will join Ivy and Catalina as they tour the small town of Sellville with their grandparents to learn about the world of science. The girls will learn about the structures and functions of the cell. This book provides great analogies that make learning about the cell easy for kids. The book Brooklyn Softball Adventures takes readers on the journey with Brooklyn through her first 2 seasons of playing softball. Through facing adversity, Brooklyn and her teammates build their confidence and learn to love the game. The book encourages children to try new things and never accept defeat. Ivy and Catalina Visit Sellville is by Sidney Carujo and Shanine Dials Carujo. And Brooklyn's Softball Adventures is by Brooklyn Carujo and Shanine Dials Carujo. Both books are available right now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BooksAMillion.com, and Target.com. Have you tasted the world famous No Frowny Brownie yet from the Pink Bakery? If not, what are you waiting for? They are vegan, gluten-free, and free of the big 8 allergens. While eating their No Frowny brownies, the fabulous Miss Tabitha Brown said they were very good. Very good. And you know, if she says that, they are. The Pink Bakery is the first black-owned, big 8 allergen-free baking mix company. Go to thepinkbakery.com. That's thepinkbakery.com to order their No Frowny Brownie mix today. All right, stand by, everybody. Stand by, everybody. Okay, we're going to continue. Okay, so we'll try to get a post article here about Mayor Dinkins also. Okay. All right. So this whole fight over the Confederate Battle Flag and the Confederate monuments, this continues today. And this is why I say America needs a massive history lesson. America needs a massive history lesson because Americans are woefully ignorant of history all around the country. Americans are woefully ignorant of history. So this is why this study from the Southern Poverty Law Center is so important. You've heard me talk about it before. Teaching Hard History, American Slavery, Teaching Hard History, American Slavery from the Southern Poverty Law Center. And what this study does is this breaks down how the history of slavery is being incorrectly taught in schools all across the country. Okay. First, well, they focus on high schools. They did a survey of 1,000 high school seniors. They did a survey of 1,000 high school seniors across the country. And they break down how little they really know about the history of slavery. For instance, on page 9, this is about a 52-page study. On page 9 of the study, so I downloaded it from splcenter.org, Southern Poverty Law Center, printed it up. So I teach from this also. High school seniors struggle on even the most basic questions about American enslavement of Africans. Only 8% of high school seniors surveyed can identify slavery as the central cause of the Civil War. Only 8% of high school seniors surveyed can identify slavery as the central cause of the Civil War. 2/3, or 68%, a little more than 2/3, 68% of high school seniors surveyed don't know that it took a constitutional amendment to formally end slavery. That was the 13th Amendment, December 1865. Fewer than 1 in 4 students, or 22%, can correctly identify how provisions in the U.S. Constitution gave advantages to slaveholders, like Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution, also known as the 3/5 Compromise, okay, which gave the slaveholding states more representation in the House of Representatives. And it wasn't saying that enslaved Africans were 3/5 of a human being. It was saying that they were going to count 3/5 of the population of slaves in these slaveholding states to determine how many seats in the House of Representatives these slaveholding states will have. So you take the number of free people in the states, add to that 3/5 of the population of enslaved Africans. Although teachers overwhelmingly, or over 90% of teachers surveyed, claim they feel comfortable discussing slavery in their classrooms, The responses to open-ended questions reveal profound unease around the topic. Then 58% of teachers find their textbooks inadequate. 58% of teachers surveyed find their textbooks inadequate. Popular textbooks fail to provide comprehensive coverage of slavery and enslaved peoples. Popular textbooks fail to provide comprehensive coverage of slavery and enslaved peoples. The best textbook achieved a score of 70% against our rubric of what should be included in the study of American slavery. The average score was 46%. So as you go through, it breaks down how the history of slavery is being incorrectly taught in schools all across the country. And then it gives all types of really good recommendations of how to more correctly teach the history of slavery. So now you can use this. A lot of children are home now and going to school at the kitchen table, online, things like this. This study should be used in every classroom across the country, every school district across the country. All right. Teaching Hard History of American Slavery from the Southern Poverty Law Center. And if you saw the interview that I did with Dr. Hassan Kwame Jeffries, who's an associate professor of history at Ohio State University, he was on the advisory board that put this together. There's actually a letter in here from him also, well, the preface, Dr. Hassan Kwame Jeffries. He wrote the preface in here, and he's a graduate of Morehouse College and Duke University, has a PhD in American history with a specialization in African American history. He's an associate professor of history at the Ohio State University and chair of the Teaching Hard History Advisory Board. So he was the chair of this board. He's also a nephew of one of my teachers, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. Okay, so check this out. And one of the things they tell you don't do in here, is don't do slave reenactments. Don't do slave reenactments, okay? Because those it talks about how the slave reenactments can be very harmful to students. And I've talked about that as well. And every now and then, we hear stories of slave lesson gone bad in schools, reenactments, or there was one story that I covered dealing with, there was this slave board game dealing with like the Underground Railroad, and it's a board game, and you have, you're a runaway slave trying to escape up north to freedom, things like this. It's like, who came up with this stuff? But okay. But anyway, and then so very, very important. Check that out. All right, now I want to go to this other clip here, because so when you don't get the proper education dealing with the history of slavery in school, right, and you go through life and you could believe the lies about the Confederacy and the Confederate Battle Flag, and it's just about Southern heritage, because you're not getting the proper education. Okay, and these students most likely are not getting the proper education at home either, because many of their parents have been miseducated. So we look at, well, how did this miseducation take place? Okay, so this clip here deals with how Southern socialites rewrote Civil War history. The United Daughters of the Confederacy. Was a significant leader of the Lost Cause, which was an intellectual movement that revised history to look more favorably on the South after the American Civil War. They were women from elite antebellum families that used their social and political clout to fundraise and pressure local governments to erect monuments that memorialize Confederate heroes. They also formed textbook review committees that monitored what Southern school children learned about the Civil War. Let me repeat this. So what they did was they used their wealth to incorrectly shape the way people thought about the Civil War, slavery, etc., the Confederacy. They also formed textbook review committees that monitored what Southern school children learned about the war. Their influential work with children created a lasting memory of the Confederate cause, and those generations grew up to be the segregationists of the Jim Crow era in the South. Okay, their influential work with children created a lasting memory of the Confederate cause, and those generations grew up to be the segregationists of the Jim Crow era in the South. All right. So let's go to this clip here.
Had a barbecue or a picnic
Let me
for
back
his
this
slaves.
up.
Listen to how this textbook describes slavery. The master often had a barbecue or a picnic for his slaves. Then they had a great frolic. Even while working in the cotton fields, they sang songs. The beat of the music and the richness of their voices made work seem light.
Yikes, that's from History of Georgia, a textbook published in 1954 that was taught across junior high schools in Georgia for decades. That sort of language is part of an intellectual movement called the Lost Cause, a distorted version of American Civil War history that's been prevalent in the South for a long time. It took shape soon after the defeat of the Confederate States in the war, when Southern historians like Edward Pollard and former Confederate General Jubal Early started preserving the South's perspective through their writings. They framed the Confederate cause as a heroic defense of the Southern way of life against the overwhelming forces in the North. That narrative has a few basic tenets: the glorification of Confederate soldiers who died for a cause they believed in, the belief that slavery was a benevolent institution, and maybe most importantly, that slavery was not the root cause of the war. The Lost Cause is one of the most notoriously effective efforts to rewrite history, and it was done by the losing side. So how did it become so deeply rooted in Southern memory? Blame the United Daughters of the Confederacy. The UDC was founded in Nashville in 1894 to preserve Confederate culture for generations to come. The women who made up the group descended from elite antebellum families, and they used their social and political clout to spread the pro-Southern version of the war as real history. You've probably seen their efforts to honor the Confederacy, but maybe you didn't know it was the UDC. They're the ones who covered the Southern landscape with memorials for Confederate leaders and soldiers. They used their fundraising and lobbying skills to pressure local governments into erecting monuments in prominent public spaces like courthouses and state capitals.
Installed here next to the state capitol by the United Daughters of the Confederacy. The United Daughters of the Confederacy donated this memorial to the city back in the 30s.
They put them along roadsides and in parks. Any place that was remotely relevant to the Confederacy was memorialized. By the early 20th century, the UDC had 100,000 members in chapters spread all over the country, but mostly in former Confederate states. And there's a reason they grew so quickly during that time.
So we're talking about roughly 3 decades after the end of the war, and the Confederate veterans themselves are beginning to die off. So there is this push to find ways to commemorate it, because the big challenge by 1900 was there's a new generation of white Southerners being born, and they never experienced the war years.
That push is visible. Most of the Confederate monuments were erected during the UDC's height of influence.
There's a rhetoric around monuments that we want to get this thing built before all of that generation has died off, and the reason we want it is to teach future generations about those men.
Dr. Karen Cox wrote the book on the UDC, and I asked her if it was fair to say the group established the Lost Cause as historical fact in the South.
Oh my God, yeah, they were the leaders of the Lost Cause into the 20th century, and they made it a movement about vindication.
Just to give you an idea of how effective they were, they successfully lobbied for a Confederate memorial in Arlington National Cemetery, which U.S. President Woodrow Wilson proudly unveiled to a cheering crowd. Now that's influence, right?
Monuments are the least important they did.
What?
I mean, they are the most visible and tangible, but the work with children was far more influential.
It turns out a central UDC objective is shaping how children think about the war and their Southern heritage. One of their most powerful tools, textbooks. Take a look at this pamphlet called A Measuring Rod for Textbooks. It was written by the illustrious Southern historian Miss Mildred Rutherford, an educator, orator, and author of Southern history textbooks. She's also very pro-slavery. The pamphlet announced the formation of a textbook review committee featuring prominent Southerners like 5 former Confederate generals. This group was committed to spreading the truths of Confederate history, so they instructed school boards to reject any textbooks that did not accord full justice to the South. And they urged libraries to deface every book in their collection that didn't measure up by writing the words "unjust to the South" clearly on its cover. This pamphlet was shared widely with school boards throughout the South, and UDC-backed committees closely monitored history books to make sure Northern influence never reached classrooms. So the core language of an approved textbook aligned precisely with that of the lost cause. You know, stuff like,
the Confederacy lost in the war between the states, but Georgia never forgot to honor her Confederate soldiers.
History of Georgia was on the UDC's approved list. It was also written by E. Merton Coulter, a self-described Southern historian and historian-described white supremacist.
They understand that how you educate, who wins the writing game, who wins the battle over history, ultimately wins the war. That's the big fight for the UDC.
But their work with children went further than the classrooms. The UDC formed an auxiliary group called the Children of the Confederacy, which was designed to get kids born in former Confederate states to actively participate in their version of history. Group leaders had kids recite call and response truths from something called the Confederate Catechism. Children up to the age of 18 would...
Let me pause it right here. They're talking about the Confederate Catechism. So let me back this up.
Actively participate in their version of history. Group leaders had kids recite call and response truths from something called the Confederate Catechism.
Confederate Catechism. So one of the tenets of the Confederate Catechism asked the question, did the South fight for slavery? Did the South fight for slavery? And then the answer that they're programming the children with is no. For had Lincoln not sent armies to the South, that country would have done no fighting at all. So this is this whole lost cause thing. This is a total rewriting of history. And they're blaming the North. They're blaming the Union for the Civil War, not the South for seceding from the Union to maintain slavery and take up arms against the Union. So it's not the fault of the South, it's the fault of the Union. Okay. Did the South fight for slavery? What they told the students is no. For had Lincoln not sent armies to the South, that country would have done no fighting at all. Let's continue.
Children up to the age of 18 would compete and be rewarded for memorizing long passages of lost cause rhetoric.
Okay, so the next one, what did the South fight for? It fought to repel invasion and for self-government, just as the fathers of the American Revolution had done. Lincoln himself confessed at first that he had no constitutional right to make war against a state, so he resorted to the subterfuge of calling for troops to suppress combinations. Let me see.
So it would be like an after school thing, like that was your club. You would go after school to the meeting of the Children of the Confederacy, and your leader might teach you songs of the South, like Dixie or other songs that were considered Southern patriotic songs. They would have them write essays, go visit the veterans, and learn this catechism.
Children were also the centerpiece of their community's monument unveilings, like this living flag at the dedication of the Stonewall Jackson Monument in Richmond. Yes, those are school children. The UDC's efforts shaped the identities of children who grew up with the lost cause. They made history personal, and that made their story last longer.
Generations of children learning that narrative in a variety of ways grow up to be, segregationists in the 50s and 60s, because that's been drilled into them since they were children.
After World War I, the UDC UDC started losing steam. But the damage was done. The monuments were in place, and the textbooks they wrote remained in Southern classrooms until the late 70s. And the women's group did it all without the right to vote or participate in politics.
You can still get glimmers of this lost cause memory of the war from people who will always choose to see it through the personal. And I think the UDC, to a great extent, was their goal.
So the next time someone says the Confederate monuments are about remembering our history, just know that that's exactly what the United Daughters of the Confederacy wants you to think.
Exactly. It's propaganda. So we have to unravel this to understand how this lie became created. This is why I say numerous times America needs a massive history lesson. Okay. And if we're ever going to get reparations, and unfortunately, many of us don't understand the process to get reparations. Is a legislative process. It's not coming from an executive order based upon Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution that has to pass the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. And the clip I played a week or so ago, from a couple of weeks ago, from Bob Johnson, when he was interviewed on CNBC. And we talked about it here and talked about it also on Roland Martin Unfiltered. When I was a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the votes don't exist in the Senate or the House for reparations. You can't even get H.R. 40 out of committee. The votes the votes are not there right now. So you got to get the right people in office, especially in the Senate. There's 100 U.S. senators, about 95 of them are white. And the black Republican senator, Tim Scott of South Carolina, already said he's not voting for reparations. You probably need 60 votes for reparations in the Senate to get it passed. You probably need 60 unless they employ the nuclear option and reduce it down to 51. I don't know if that's going to happen. But you couldn't even get a Juneteenth bill passed in the Senate. That was blocked by Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, using the unanimous consent rule. Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Cory Booker and other Democrats were trying to get a Juneteenth bill passed in the U.S. Senate to make Juneteenth a federal holiday and give people the day off from work and recognize Juneteenth as a federal holiday. Well, that was blocked in the Senate. So if you can't make Juneteenth a federal holiday and give white people the day off from work, if you can't get that passed in the Senate, how are you going to get reparations passed in the Senate? This is why America needs a massive history lesson, because Americans are woefully ignorant of history. It's not their fault, is by design. It's because they're being miseducated largely in the schools. Now, this doesn't mean that there are not dedicated teachers who are trying to do the right thing and teach the right information. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm talking about the textbooks. I'm talking about understanding the system. Okay, this is why the study from the Southern Poverty Law Center is so important, because they also examined a number of textbooks to break down how many of the popular textbooks that are being used in schools across the country are miseducating our children as well. And those children grow up to be adults and have children. Okay. All right. This is why this is so important. So if we look at this article here from NBCnews.com, Trump set on veto of defense bill over renaming bases honoring Confederates. Trump set on veto of defense bill over renaming bases honoring Confederates. Donald Trump. So this is from November 23rd, 2020. This was posted 5:31 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I saw this article early this morning. So when I was thinking about this, I posted the clip from the Golden Girls. I posted that a couple of days ago. I saw that on Facebook. Posted that clip. That's from 1988. Then I saw this article today, because I had already heard that former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper wanted to rename these military bases named after Confederate soldiers, and Trump was against it. So all this came together. So I said, okay, so we're going to talk about this on the show today. All right. This is history in the headlines. Donald Trump is threatening to veto legislation to fund the military as one of his final acts in office unless a widely supported bipartisan provision to rename military bases honoring Confederate military leaders is removed, according to White House defense and congressional sources. According to White House defense and congressional sources, this is problematic on a number of levels because the Confederate military leaders were traitors to the Union and they lost. You represent the Union. Trump, if in case you haven't figured it out, Benedict Donald, you represent the Union. So, see, countries don't name military bases and schools and buildings after traitors to the Union. It's like in Germany, they don't have schools and bases, military bases and buildings, things like this, named after Adolf Hitler and Nazis. They don't do that. This is how backwards this is. Since the November 3rd, 2020 election, Donald Trump has privately told Republican lawmakers that he won't back down from his position during the campaign, that he would veto the annual National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. Each president has signed this since going back to about 1961. The annual National Defense Authorization Act, if it includes an amendment to rename the bases. Now, you're renaming the bases after traitors to the Union who fought to maintain slavery. This is who you're fighting to keep these bases named after. A senior administration official confirmed Donald Trump's conversations with Republicans and his veto threat. He said, quote unquote, he's said that, the official said. Now, keep in mind, there's bipartisan support. There's support from Republicans and Democrats to rename these military bases that are named after traitors to the Union. There's bipartisan support. But Donald Trump, who took an oath to defend the Constitution against enemies, both foreign and domestic, is against that. He wants to keep them named after traitors who fought to maintain slavery. Donald Trump's stance has put in doubt legislation that has been agreed to by Republicans and Democrats in the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. Let me repeat. Donald Trump's stance has put in doubt legislation that has been agreed to by Republicans and Democrats in the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. It has sent members of Trump's party scrambling to find a path for the defense bill, which outlines military policy and funding and put them on a collision course with Democrats. Now, Donald Trump was just 2-3 weeks ago before the election talking about what all he was going to do for African Americans and his fool's gold plan that he called the Platinum Plan. And no president has done more for African Americans, with the exception of Lincoln, than him. But he doesn't want to rename military bases that many African Americans serve on, that are in the military, that serve on these bases, that are named after traitors to the Union who fought to keep their ancestors enslaved. And he claims to be the least racist person that you'll ever meet, or the least racist person you know. So what you're saying is you're a racist, but not as bad as other people. Now, when did you take a poll? That's what I want to know. When did you take a poll? While some Republicans are now shifting their positions to align with Donald Trump, Democrats are refusing to budge on the agreed to amendment threatening passage of the legislation. The effort to change the names of military bases honoring Confederate military leaders has been a target for Donald Trump for months. Now, his favorite president is Andrew Jackson, who's a big white supremacist also, and signed the Indian Removal Act of 1803. that pushed the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole Indians off their land in the southeastern United States and forced them over 1,000 miles out west on what's known as the Trail of Tears. And about 1/3 of the people on the Trail of Tears were also Africans, because a lot of them were enslaved or married into the tribes, those Native American nations. So they go out west, and then in the Creek, the Creek Indians go into Oklahoma, and they found Tallahassee. They found an area that becomes the city of Tallahassee. About 1836, Tallahassee becomes known as Tulsa, Oklahoma. That goes into the origins of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Black Wall Street. It was among the disagreements he had with his former defense secretary, Mark Esper, who was quietly working with Congress to codify the renaming of military bases in the bill before Donald Trump fired him this month, before Donald Trump fired him in November. The pressure from Donald Trump has increased as members of the House and Senate Armed Services Committees, the House and Senate Armed Services Committees have begun formal negotiations to work out the differences in the legislative body's respective bills. Both chambers overwhelmingly passed a provision that would change the names of Confederate named bases as part of their defense bills. Both chambers, the House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, lower chamber House of Representatives, upper chamber U.S. Senate, passed a provision that would change the names of Confederate named bases as part of their defense bills. But the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senator James Inhofe, Republican of Oklahoma, indicated that he's gotten the message from Trump, and he called it a quote unquote big issue of contention in negotiations with Democrats. Now, Senator Moscow Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, another traitor, quote, said only the president can say whether or not there's any room for a negotiation. Well, that's what Inhofe said, adding that he doubts that Senator Majority Leader Moscow Mitch McConnell would put legislation up for a vote on the floor, quote, that has a veto on it, end quote. Now, Democrats are balking, saying Republicans are buckling under pressure from a lame duck president. 36 Senate Democrats wrote a letter urging that the provision remain, to rename these military bases. Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, acknowledged that the issue has become a central sticking point. Okay, so check out the rest of this article here. It goes on to say, in July, Donald Trump tweeted that he would veto the measure to rename these military bases if it includes an amendment that renames bases. Okay, he said back in July, quote, I will veto the defense authorization bill if the Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren, of all people, he said, amendment which will lead to the renaming plus other bad things of Fort Bragg, Fort Robert E. Lee, and many other military bases from which we won 2 world wars is in the bill. But these were traitors to the Union. General Robert E. Lee some of these guys were also slave owners. Some of them didn't just fight to maintain slavery. Some of them were slave owners themselves, like General Robert E. Lee. A congressional aide said that Donald Trump's feelings have not changed, and that the reality is that the next administration would probably change the names even if the language isn't included in the defense bill. Quote, why put a large, important bill at risk for something that will come to pass anyway, the aide asked. At his inauguration, President-elect Joe Biden, who released a statement supporting the name changes in June 2020, could issue an executive order to change the names, and the changes would likely be implemented faster than any legislation could implement them, a defense official said. Joe Biden wrote, quote, the names affixed to our military installations must honor the diverse heritage of leadership and sacrifice in our country's history. I fully support Senator Elizabeth Warren's bipartisan effort to form a commission to rename Defense Department facilities named after Confederate leaders in the next 3 years and look forward to implementing the commission's work as president, end quote. So check out, so this article is by Carol Lee for NBC News. Check out the article in its entirety. Trump set on veto of defense bill over renaming bases honoring Confederates. Trump set on veto of defense bill over renaming bases honoring Confederates. This is why this history is so important, because how people perceive a group of people is based upon what they know about those people and what's been taught to them about those people. A lot of the information has been taught to them about through the media, through television, through movies, things like this, through music, but also in the history books, in history class, in schools, etc. Okay, so if a lot of information is wrong, it causes them to form a consensus about a group of people, and then they will then the laws that they support that target those groups of people are oftentimes based upon misinformation. So this is why you have a lot of people, especially a lot of white people, who don't think African Americans deserve reparations because they don't understand the history of this country. But also, a few months ago, Donald Trump was holding a campaign rally. It was on Native American land, and he was violating a treaty by being on that land because he didn't get permission from the Native American nation. I can't remember, was it North Dakota or South Dakota? Well, there was a huge dispute over this, and a lot of Donald Trump supporters, many of them ignorant of history, didn't understand that land belonged to Native Americans. Because, and one of the things, I was watching this whole thing play out on MSNBC, and they were on location, and they're talking to Donald Trump supporters who don't understand the treaties and don't understand that Trump is in violation of those treaties by being on that land because he wasn't invited. And one of the things that it was an African-American reporter for MSNBC, NBC News. One of the things he said was, this history is not taught in schools. This history about Native Americans here and treaties is not taught in schools. So a lot of these people, especially a lot of these Trump supporters, don't understand that this was Native American land. And then we can also say land that belonged to Africans, because there were Africans here in this land before Native Americans as well. If you read The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence by Dr. David Imhotep, he breaks this down. Because, I mean, if we look at this book here, we know that African people were here in this land that we call the United States of America. African people were here in this land we call the United States of America, going back at least 51,700 years ago. These were the Khoisan. So they were here before Native Americans even come into existence. The Native Americans basically, now some of those groups of Africans are going to be reclassified as Native Americans. But the people in general who we call Native Americans are the offspring of an intermixing of Africans who were already here and Asians who come here around 3000 BC, and they intermix, and then their offspring are who we know as Native Americans. But you're also going to have some white people who got land from the Dawes Allotment Act of 1887 and classified themselves as Native Americans to get that land. And their descendants are, white, but claiming to be Native Americans. That's a whole nother story. There's no whole nother history. But research the Dawes Allotment Acts, DAWES, of 1887. It's a reallocation of 138 million acres of land. 2/3 is supposed to go to Native Americans and African Americans and, Black Indians. And the majority of it is supposed to go to them. And white people end up getting 2/3 of that land. That's a whole nother conversation. This is where the term $5 Indian comes from. Because Britannica.com has a really good article dealing with this. Encyclopedia Britannica, Britannica.com, the Dawes Allotment Act, named after Senator Henry L. Dawes of Massachusetts. And it was the Dawes Allotment Act was reallocating this land. So it was kind of like a census. They would record the names of these Native Americans, and they had to anglicize their name, anglicize their name to get the land. So you had white people who found out about this, so they paid $5 to have their names added to the Dawes rolls so they can get that land also. Okay, so this is where the term $5 Indian comes from. So this is not saying all Native Americans. I'm not saying all Native Americans are like that, but this is a historical term. Okay, this is where this comes from. So check out the article from Britannica.com called Dawes. I think it's called Dawes Act from Britannica.com. Dawes Act of 1887. And let me see, pull this up here. Yeah, Britannica.com. Dawes General Allotment Act. Dawes General Allotment Act. And we'll post the link to the article here from Britannica.com, official website of Encyclopedia Britannica. All right, African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. And we can get you up and running right away. We'll create a video commercial for you. It runs when we re-air these broadcasts on our social media platforms. Stand by. Okay, we'll create a video commercial for you, and it'll re-air when we your video commercial will air when we re-air these broadcasts on our social media platforms. We also create an audio commercial for you. 30-second to 60-second video commercial, 30-second to 60-second audio commercial. And these shows are on 9 different audio podcast platforms. We're on iHeartRadio, Castbox, FM Player, TuneIn, iTunes as well. Okay. So you can send us a script. We'll create a commercial for you, no additional charge. If you already have a 30-second, 60-second commercial, as long as it contains non-copywritten music, you can have Cardi B or Nicki Minaj, Beyonce in there, because this is air on Facebook and YouTube. But email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, and we'll give you the details. And we'll get you up and running as well. Okay. If you'd like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, and then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So we're here 6 days a week. So that really helps out, because we were doing, for 4 years, we were doing 1 day a week on 9:10 a.m. But now, as of October 12th, we're here 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Then Sundays, we're still 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Sundays. So that helps us to finance the show, keep doing the research, stay on the air, etc. So we definitely appreciate the donations. $, the AHN Show through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Our email address through PayPal is theahnshow@gmail.com, theahnshow@gmail.com. You can also donate at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And through PayPal, you can set up for a recurring monthly donation if you like as well. Okay, all of my DVD lectures are at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the Black Migration 1619 to 2019 bundle pack. We have the Dr. John Henry Clark and Dr. Yosef Ben Yakin bundle packs. We have a lot of my lectures in DVD bundle packs as well, and the Africans who were here before Columbus, and we also have digital downloads of my lectures as well at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, look, we're going to get out of here. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Remember, at the African History Network Show, we focus on educating, empowering, inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior, It's not over till we win. Okay, so if you want to donate, it's better that you don't do it through YouTube. You can, but when you just keep in mind, when you do it through YouTube, they automatically take 1/3 of the donation when you donate through YouTube. If you do it through Cash App, they don't take 1/3. So if you can only do it through YouTube, I understand, but just so people understand the difference, if you donate it through YouTube, YouTube takes 1/3 of that donation because it's on their platform. All right, so that's why I give out the Cash App and PayPal. Okay, because that's why I don't talk about YouTube. But I mean, I appreciate it, Felicia. I appreciate it, but just so people understand, that's why I don't talk about YouTube. Okay, so all right, so. Remember, right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. Author Melinda Merritt is the author of 2 books, Merit Magic and Age of Aquarius, Spiritual Reckoning. In the book Merit Magic, this book is about the civil rights movement of the 1960s and how her family played a very important role in this movement. It is about all of the civil rights leaders, such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Jesse Jackson, John Lewis, and many others of this nation who came to her small Georgia town and started the movement that spread across this nation. This book tells the wonderful story of 3 powerful women who did amazing things because they had inherited special gifts from their African ancestry and used them to help the cause. These ancestral gifts seem to have been forgotten at this stage in our history. The second book, Age of Aquarius, Spiritual Reckoning, discusses the relationship between humans and the 10 spheres of the Tree of Life. Author Melinda Merritt was able to show some very interesting facts about the present and past presidents of the United States as it relates to what they did while in office. The current president is living up to the negative impact he has brought to this space. This book shows how astrology impacts people in ways that they may not be aware of. It discusses the change in the status of religion in this country, as we can easily see. There is a major change happening in that area. Visit the website merit-magic.com. That's merit-magic.com, MERRITT, and get both books for only $20. Gain knowledge in minutes with Blacklist Ed. Blacklist Ed is an app that provides insightful summaries of books pertaining to the Black experience. As Black people, we know the importance of reading books to discover our incredible contributions to world history, to uplift our self-esteem, and to empower ourselves for our relentless fight for social justice. Unfortunately, with our busy lives, it feels like there is never enough time to read a book. Fortunately, there's a solution. With Blacklist Ed, their app provides key insights from best-selling books about the Black experience, therefore saving you time, increasing your knowledge, and empowering yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. You can read or listen on the go. Start your free trial today by going to blacklisted.com. That's Black without the C, BLAK. Or you can download the Blacklist Ed app from the App Store or Google Play. Blacklist Ed, empower yourself. Yaya Rule is a line of African print-inspired apparel catered to the Black community. The pieces include t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, jackets, dresses, skirts, activewear, bags, and other accessories and home decor. This brand offers a revived way for men and women to wear their Black pride and honor their African heritage anywhere at any time. This apparel line is for anyone, whether you are working in the corporate world, are an entrepreneur, or an artist. Their selection will allow you to casually let your pride shine or dress it up as wanted. It is for those who have already embraced African fabrics and for those who are just getting introduced to them. Reclaim and experience a part of our culture with rich and colorful African prints. The clothing line and the accessories are available right now starting at $17.99. For more information on the new items and accessories, visit yayarule.com. Al-Qibalan's lifestyle attitude is servitude. It's on providing you quality products and customer service. They're here to fulfill your African men's and women's clothing, accessories, health and beauty products, essential oils and fragrances, hair care products, and much, much more. Check out their collection of clothing and products for African kings and queens. Visit their website, alkebulanlife.com, ALKEBULAN, alkebulanlife.com. They look forward to serving you.